Support our school by subscribing to the channel and check out our website for new classes starting soon. Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to the Columbus School of Chinese and our show Ask a Chinese Teacher. Today's topic is what they don't tell you in the textbooks. Now, before I start to sound too snooty or anything, let me just tell you that it makes sense that they don't tell you these things in the textbooks. What I'm talking about is all of the context that comes along with some common words that you need, that native speakers innately know and abide by when they use these words, that you don't see in your Chinese 1 or Chinese 2 textbook. And it makes sense that they don't tell you all this in the beginning because you don't want to overload a student. Let me give you an example. Possibly the first word that you learn in Chinese is ni hao. You might know that word even if you've never actually had a formal Chinese class. So hello in Chinese is ni hao, right? Sort of. So hello isn't really a 100% accurate analog at all times for ni hao. In fact, ni hao, as far as greetings go in the real world, isn't really used that much. So why is that? Ni hao is a very flat, neutral way to greet someone. It can be used in the most wide variety of contexts, so it seems like a good word to teach for beginners. However, the real world, when language is spoken in real life, these are real, actual, specific contexts, and most of these specific contexts call for something that's a little bit more appropriate than ni hao. So let me give you some alternatives to greeting people in Chinese. Let's look at this on the spectrum of formal to informal, all right? In terms of Chinese culture, the more formal we are, the more distant we feel to the person, the more that they are someone new to us or someone in a higher rank than us. And by higher rank, I mean, when you're speaking to your boss or when you're speaking to your teacher, you want to be using more formal language, if at all possible. In formal situations, when you're trying to show deference to someone with a higher rank than you, you want to avoid using the word ni as much as possible, right? If you can't avoid it, it is what it is. If you slip up and say ni hao, it is what it is, but there's better things to say. A greeting for someone like a teacher or a boss, someone with a title, use the title. Title plus hao, as opposed to ni plus hao, title plus hao. So 老师, you might know that the teacher asks you to greet him or her, not with ni hao, but with 老师好, right? 老师好 is how you would say hello to a teacher. Or if you're at work, you have a director of your department, for example, Director Wang, you'd say 王主任好, 主任好, hello director, as opposed to ni hao. Ni is too neutral. You're not really showing the respect and the formality that you could be showing for a better cultural interaction. So as we move from formal to informal on this scale, we're going to pass through this middle ground where perhaps it is most appropriate to say something like ni hao. It's very neutral situations. There aren't really actually many of these in real life, however. When we get to the other end here, this is when we're interacting with family, close friends, people we're familiar with. So what do you say in this situation? There's actually a ton of great ways to greet people. One of them is to simply say 怎么样?怎么样?怎么样 we might know as a question word, meaning how something is, what something's like. Hey, how's it going? What's up? This is kind of like a Chinese equivalent of what's up. 怎么样? Hey, 怎么样? As opposed to 你好,朋友好, right? You don't want to act like that towards a friend because it makes them feel distant. You want friends to feel like you're bringing them in and you're thinking about them. Another great way to greet people you're close with, or I guess you could say a strategy to greet people you're close with, is to simply state what you see them doing. So if you see that they have arrived, you could say, 哦,来了,你来了. Hey, 小王,你来了. You've arrived. You've gotten here. If you see them leaving to go to school, you could say, 有课啊. Oh, you've got class. 上学了. You're going to school. If you see that they're going to work, or let's say they're coming home, you see them coming back, you say 回家了, you're coming back home. This is just a way to show that you notice them, you care about them, you are concerned with what they're doing. So in a nutshell, what this, I suppose, lesson is really about here is not so much to tell you that, hey, textbooks aren't doing their job, they're not telling you everything. This is actually not true. You don't want to type all that out on a book. You want that to be, maybe some English discussion after class. It's kind of what we're trying to do with this YouTube channel here. So we don't have to be doing as much cultural discussion in English during class. During that time, we could be conversing in Chinese in that precious time to practice speaking and listening to Chinese in class. So as we're progressing in our studies of Chinese, it's important to remember that we're not just studying Chinese language, we're also studying Chinese culture and how to act in whatever variety of situations you might encounter in real life, the whole spectrum.